time, weather.
Now for the Forge Podcast. Question for you. What's the power of your testimony if it's never shared? This is the Forge Podcast.
A ministry of Scottsdale Bible Church.
Something you said on Saturday that you are knowledgeable on the history of the church.
I love the history of the church. Yeah.
And whether that's another podcast, like I would love to pick your brain, or just you and me coffee.
Yeah.
Where do you see the state of the church today? What are you optimistic about? And what are you apprehensive? What makes you nervous?
I'll say this, and then we can unpack it. I'm optimistic about postmodernism in the church. Not because I like...
Explain postmodernism.
Postmodernism, the idea that... So, okay, if you have your pre-modern world, it's a world that says, hey, God or gods show us things. That's how we know what truth is. So you've got, God or gods up here, and then you've got us down here, and we get a message from them. We get a book, we get a vision, and that's what sets kind of authority.
Okay.
When you move into the modern era, man starts taking that place. Humans take that place of, hey, I think with my rational mind, I try to figure things out. This is where, the scientific revolution comes, and apologetics is kind of birth. Like I'm a thinking being, and though my feelings may let me down, my mind can get to truth. Postmodernism, I think, is the step beyond that says, hold on, we've got thinking beings all over the world. We're more global. The internet has connected us all. And here goes thinking beings, and they all have these different stories, and they come to different conclusions. Now, what most of the postmodern world does is that maybe they go another step, and they say, well, there must not be any truth. I would say that's a bad step. Let's not go there. But I think it is a good realization to say, hey, we're not just brains walking around. Like we are, if you look at what you eat in a given week, there's some things you eat because you thought about it and you said, this is good nourishment for my body. There's some things you eat because you wanted to eat those things, even though you knew they were bad. Yeah. I mean, like when I buy a bag of Doritos and just
Flaming Hot Cheetos, bro.
Yes, and just polish off the whole thing. That's not a logical decision. That's a heart gut thing happening. And then there's some things you eat because you're with other people, right? Like there's some places. A guy the other day invited us to go to Raising Cane's, which is great. I would not have gone to Raising Cane's if he hadn't invited us. But it was the social pressure. And I think it's good to realize that the decisions we make, they're social, emotional, and mental. And I think postmodernism has brought that up a little bit. So I'm encouraged that the church is coming back to a place where we do things like Alpha, where we say, hey, we need to know your story. You need time. This isn't going to just be, we're going to throw facts at you and you'll make the right decision. I think a lot of times we think evangelism is getting stupid people to think the right way. And that's why we talk down to people, as opposed to, hey, these are sinners just like me, and they need to meet Christ. Mm-hmm. Now I got to get in touch with them, and this isn't going to be so factual. So that I think that movement encourages me. I think the diversity of the church. I think the fact that this will sound weird too. I think the fact that the church is losing power encourages me because, one of the beautiful things in Sweden, it's a little bit hard to figure out how many believers are in Sweden, but it's definitely below 5%. And so depending on how optimistic you want to be, 1, 2, 3, or 4% of the population. So
like heart transformed.
I'm thinking like actual believers, right? Because I know there are people who are going to church who aren't Christians, and there are probably people who don't go to church but actually are Christians. But church attendance is under 5%. So it's hard to imagine there's 20% of the country that are believers. It takes 4% in Sweden to get into parliament. A party has to get 4% of the vote to be like an official party in parliament. So no party is courting the Christian vote. And it doesn't help you. You can't get into parliament even if you got all the Christians.
Right.
So I think there's something beautiful when Christians realize we're a minority. We can't dictate that the world will be our way. It puts us back much like the early Christians, much like Christians really for like the first 300 years, where we are living a countercultural life, but we know it could cost us, job, life, money, family, at any moment. And I think there's something about that makes the church clearer. Yeah. I don't know if that was an answer to your question.
It is. That's the optimism, but it also separates the dross, right? When there is consequence to your faith, it separates the lukewarm for people that really love the Lord and will stay in it regardless if it costs them everything.
Which has always been kind of a, the early church. It's very clear who are Christians, because the Jews don't like them, the Greeks and Romans don't like them. Once Constantine and then Theophilus say, hey, Rome is going to be a Christian state, suddenly it's very nice to be a Christian. Even if you don't really believe this or follow Jesus, it would be advantageous to your career to become a Christian, to at least go participate. So suddenly they go, okay, wow, everyone's a Christian, we're a Christian nation. We need confirmation. Confirmation will be the moment where we say, do you really believe this? Let's confirm this, which of course then after another 1,000 years has lost also its place. So you kind of constantly need this way of thinking, hey, we've grown, it's now popular. Are we still clear on what the gospel is and who the church is?
Is there anything that makes you nervous? Scared of?
Maybe there are times that I lament, maybe where Christians have found themselves. Ultimately, though, Christ said the gates of hell will not prevail over the church, right? Like the church, you don't get so many ironclad promises, but one of the ones we get is the church will endure. Now that doesn't tell us it'll be big or popular or wealthy or safe. The church is enduring in places like Iran, where also there are tons of martyrs. But I think I feel confident about the church. I think what's going to be painful for people is as church separates from culture. I find that there's a lot of culture that I like. There's a lot of comfort I like. I like living in a country where "In God We Trust" is written everywhere. But the church doesn't need that to endure. Right. We don't need. We don't need people who are elected officials to endure, but it does make life feel very comfortable, and I think that moment will be painful for when it comes for different people. As you go, okay, now suddenly to be Christian, to live out this church life means I'm out of sync with my family, or I'm out of sync with my culture. One of the things that being overseas did, so I lived about 17 years in North Carolina, and then I lived about 17 years in Sweden. I'm not Swedish, but then also I'm out of sync a little bit with America. I'm out of sync a little bit with North Carolina.
Somewhere in between a peach and a coconut.
I think it reinforced. Yeah, I don't know what the fruit that. I don't know what the fruit that is. I was not going to say anything. But it reinforces that my citizenship is the kingdom that Jesus will bring one day. But that does detach me from other citizenships. Yeah.
So lastly, what have you been involved in other men's ministry before? Sorry, men's group. We're talking about Forge. It's the Forge podcast.
Yeah.
Men's groups. Have you been
I came to
in them?
Christ through a group of guys, really inviting me, bringing me in.
Okay.
And at NC State, where I went to school, Campus Crusade for Christ was, when I was there, the university was 2/3 men. And so Campus Crusade also was men heavy. There was lots of men's Bible studies. And it was just this big community. So there, I mean, it was a very much like a Southern purity culture was going. The Young Restless Reform movement was going. And then going to Sweden, I mean, still involved with guys, still hanging out with guys and discipling men. But, Sweden, one of their deepest held values would be feminism. So then, I mean, what was weird for me was going from a place where, as a young man who was a Christian, it was like, wow, way to go. You are taking charge of your life. You're gonna make the world a better place. And then to step in a place where it's like a young man who's a Christian, that is horrible. I mean, that's like the worst thing you can. That's the worst thing you could be right now. Are you also white? That sounds horrible. So, yeah.
What's your takeaway the last few weeks of being part of Forge?
I love Forge. People share quickly. I think it's great. I think, I think the vision that like a lot of the leaders, the vision team, the people that are praying, the pastors have put together. Hey, we want to be centered on the Bible. We want to discuss the Bible, but we want to see life change, and that means we need a place where we can share. I think creating a group of men where it's like, I mean, these are still dudes, but they're listening well. They're not constantly just telling everything they know to one another. They're sharing vulnerably. I think it's a beautiful place. I mean, if you told me, hey, I can get together once a week, walk through the book of Ephesians with a group of guys, and afterwards we're going to open up and talk about how we struggle with anger or sex or alcohol or money or whatever it is. That's great.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And then what are you looking forward to? Because you'll take over Forge down at Tempe, right? What any thoughts, or are you just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and seeing what happens?
I mean, okay, so
because that would be my strategy.
Yeah.
if I was.
So what I love seeing is I love preaching and teaching. I love getting into these kind of conversations. But I love seeing a community of guys that get it. When I see, two of the guys who are going to go down to Tempe, Gabe and Lamar, watching their friendship and watching the way they interact with the guys at the table, that's beautiful. I don't want to talk. I just want to I watch their curiosity and their vulnerability come out. Getting to see other guys get up and go, okay, hey, this guy, I can sharpen his preaching a little bit and help his ideas come forward a little bit, but I don't want to be on stage. Like, let him get up there and teach. So I think I'm excited about the guys that are ready for Tempe are gathering, because every Tuesday at the Forge, there's a group for Tempe up in the front left, and we're probably 20 guys now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that group of guys, but I'm also excited about just seeing that group grow and seeing who those guys are, who the guys are that the Lord brings, and then seeing the ripples. I mean, I'm thinking about my neighbors right now who, as far as I know, don't know the Lord. I'm thinking about the people that are hurting and marriages that are broken and men that need that place where they could get together and be vulnerable with another guy. I'm excited about seeing that go out into the community. Excited about being at the university. That'll be fun.
I think so.
The university, college. I've got my European language. Everything's university. Yeah. I'm excited about seeing the church.
It still is university. It's ASU.
Yeah, but you talk about like going to college and when my time at college. You don't say when I was in university.
Yeah.
But there's times I don't know what's coming out of my mouth sometimes. Between Southern English from a small town and a Swedish brain, who knows what comes out of my mouth. I think one of the challenges for the church you were asking before, and one of the things that I think is exciting moving forward, as we realize that we're not just kind of walking brains, we're full people, and as we want depth and something real, I think it's gonna start pushing against our church services, the kind of like consumer, come get some information, leave church. We're gonna say, wait, no, I want to fast, I want to take communion, and I want that to be a slow process. Maybe I want to light a candle, maybe I want to sit somewhere, or maybe I want confession. And I'm not thinking of like the Roman Catholic theology around confession, but maybe I want to sit with a brother and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. Would you pray with me and have an interaction?
I mean, that's what Red Dot is around the Forge table.
Right.
It takes some guys a while to get there, but that's where I mean, it's your secrets. Your vulnerability is safe there. You're not condemned. You're not judged, and you're not gossiped about. So
Yep.
bring it. It's also a great place to test out vulnerability before you go and tell your wife some of the stuff you got to work through. Come tell a bunch of dudes that have been there and have walked in that and maybe walking in it.
Yeah.
And practice. Try it out. Try vulnerability. Try confessing. Hey, man, I struggle with lust. And da-da-da. It's like, okay, I accept you. Now how can we walk through that?
I love too, like the nuanced approach that you just talked about of, hey, I see this guy. He doesn't just need information. Like it's not just like he's thinking poorly or else he wouldn't be struggling with lust. So I need to give him. I actually like maybe the way that Christ is going to minister to this guy is I'm going to listen to him. I don't judge him. I'm going to love him. I'm going to pray for him. I'm going to sit with him. I'm going to cry with him. And suddenly I'm doing something. I was thinking before I came about Philippians 2, this passage of Christ emptying himself, coming down, and then considering others more important than himself. I think so much of the church life should look like that, where I say, hey, I'm going to step into Forge tonight, and I'm going to pour out a little bit of me. I don't need to be filled so much with me tonight. And I'm going to consider the guy across the table from me as more important than me. And I'm going to be there with him. Like Christ came and, I mean, Christ could have written a book and just mailed it down to us and be like, I'm going to stay up here with God the Father and hope you guys read it and get what you need. And instead he saw such value in coming down and, I mean, literally getting dirty, getting beaten, getting tired, ideally getting the flu, and being in a body with us.
Right.
I think as we kind of get away from that idea that we're just kind of brains out there, it's gonna push our church services. One of the most beautiful things about Sweden that I miss so much about church is you would go in, you'd have a worship service that would look a lot like ours in the free church, and when you got done, you'd pray. Everyone would leave the worship service, and then 99% of people would go right into a line for coffee, and you'd sit down for about an hour and a half, and you'd have coffee. You'd have like maybe a little sandwich or a little muffin or something, and the church would be there now out talking, interacting together. I thought that was so beautiful. Hey, we just heard a sermon, we just worshiped together, but now we're going to also spend time with one another.
I like that.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah.
We were saying this, I think it was last week. I had heard this stat 2 weeks ago, and I brought it up to Ford's our table last week, that the average man in our country has 0.9 friends.
Oh, gosh. I mean,
and meaning 0.9 friends that you would go like, hey, if something happened, who would you talk to if X happened, or if you had to tell this or that, not let's go watch football on Saturday and have some beers, not that, but a real friend. And going to your idea of listening, I think listening is an overlooked ministry, and there's so much power in. And it's a ministry in and of itself to listen, to sit and listen to another person. And if that stat is somewhere true, around one friend, people are isolated. People don't have anybody to tell anything to, and they're dying on the inside because we're created to have fellowship and to be in community and with another man, have that. So that's sad. So. A while ago, my daughters always complain about my breath, my coffee breath. So every Tuesday I drive to Forge to the point where I have mints all the time.
Yeah.
Every birthday and Father's Day I get bags of mints.
I feel like that was a step in my journey to becoming an old man, where I was like, man, now my breath smells bad too.
Yeah. So my prayer on the way to Forge, I'm like, Lord, you've given me two ears. Let me listen tonight. One mouth. But it stinks. According to my daughters, my breath stinks, so let me keep it closed, and let me just listen. And to pay it, there is a difference between listening and listening with intent. And if you can stare those gentlemen across the table in the eyes and listen as they're pouring out, even if they're not, it encourages them to pour out. Somebody's really listening.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing. One guarantee at Forge, you will be heard. If you want to speak, you will be heard and you will be listened to.
I love that. Someone told me one time, don't make the mistake of thinking that God's only working when you're talking. And I mean, it's so clearly true, but I definitely sometimes think, oh gosh, Joe's talking right now. I got to think about what I'm going to say, or else this is a wasted moment.
Yeah.
Why? As though prayer can't work, as though you sharing can't work, as though me being here with you isn't a way that God could work. Or maybe it has nothing to do with me at all. I mean, maybe you sharing and getting this out. Maybe that's where the power is. Yeah, I love that about Forge. I think it's beautiful to see a group of guys get together and share life, listen.
Yep.
Not try to over engineer it. So, yeah.
The beautiful thing about Forge is if all the toys went away, if the big screen, if the speakers, if the air condition, if the chairs went away, if the podcast went away, if the microphones, Forge still stands because it's you and me.
Yeah.
And it's guys hungry for relationships with other guys. That's the crux. Everything else can fall away. Forge will still stay strong because it's men knitted together by the blood of the Lamb and a relationship in Christ that would make it strong and stronger and just keep going.
I remember David Platt asking that question years ago. He said, our church wanted to say, okay, if we got together in a room and we didn't have comfortable seats, if we had a Bible and people, would we still come? Would that be enough to get us there? And it's a good challenging question to ask myself of, what am I complaining about today in the church? Yeah.
Well, I got my battery light flashing, so thanks for coming on, man. It's great to meet you, and I look forward to doing this more.
Absolutely.
If you'd like, so
yeah, absolutely.
Get a coffee and just chat. And
I love it. Talk more church history.
Yeah, as we say, see you Tuesday.
Yeah, see you Tuesday.
Wow.
Thank you for listening to the Forge Podcast.